This is your 2020 Toyota RAV4, part of the 5th generation. It was all new last year, 2019. So 2020 is a carryover model for the most part. And let's just jump into Quirks, Perks, and Irks. Starting with the exterior as per usual. I'm gonna get down nice and low and show you just how aggressive Toyota has made this completely different than the last generation. And I know that with generation to generation changes, things change, but this is a huge change for Toyota, who had previously, to me, been known for their vanilla designs, but now this is chocolate sprinkles and marshmallows and score bits and sauce. And anyways, it's completely different, and I really like it. So top trim limited, which is what I have. You get LED fog lights, and you have your LED day runners and your LED headlights, but you don't get LED turn signals, and that's a bit of a letdown. I kind of wish the whole lighting assembly was all LED. Can't win them all, but the nice cool rectangular shape that wraps around, very nicely done there. There's a little design continuum. I'll start with showing it here. It's not quite chrome, but it's definitely gray, and that goes around to the rear, just in the middle of the tailgate, so we'll show you that in a couple minutes. There is part of the 360 cam. There is 25% of it. And you'll notice that the grille design, as I go further into the review, you'll notice more of that throughout the vehicle. So overall, I really like it. I don't really like this kind of thin black line that kind of spreads just over the logo and across. I kind of just wish they made it a little lower and flush with the hood, but that's my 2 cents, and one of the few things I'd change about the exterior. Back to where we started, you can see all sorts of design lines, starting with the fog light assembly, and there's a sculpture line there, and there, and there, and there, and there. We'll give them that one, it has to stay there. But even there's a little line kind of, I don't know if you can see, yeah, there it is. It's kind of right there, as opposed to making it rounded or smoothed off. Same thing with the hood. A couple of contour lines, one's there and one's there as well. We go over to the body, and there's a nice sculpture line there, you can see it. Plus there's one at the bottom that kind of scoops up. I'm not sure, how can we show that to you? Anyways, you can see it in the parking lines. It's all kind of distorted, but another design line there, and that even kind of trickles down in here as well. You can see the distorted parking line. So going back up, turn signals in the side mirrors. These are LED, which is nice. There's a look at your second 360-degree camera, one on the other side, and obviously one on the rear. A bit of a perk for me, one big takeaway is if you want people to know you're driving the limited trim, it's the only one with the chrome door handles. Every other one is not chrome. Nice big squared off wheel arches, pretty nice. I have no problems with that. Quirk is, it's a little floating roofline thing, kind of like Nissan does. Nissan's is a lot more pronounced, but it's just a nice kind of upscale look for me. Back to the design, kind of creases and chisel lines. There's another one that goes all the way around there, and it kind of bends in right there as well, along the gas cap and up through the body. The rear door. They're not quite wraparound tail lights. Those are your reverse lights. Those are your, again, non-LED turn signals. I just wish the whole thing was LED. But the lighting assembly wraps around nicely, and there's that black trim, little diffuser there. So I think the rear end looks very sharp. Going back a couple of minutes, there was that nice gray trim along the bottom of the front end, and there it is again. Twin tailpipes, so my need for symmetry is taken care of. Because this is the top trim limited, you can either kick your foot underneath the bumper in the middle, or you can hold down the key fob, and I'll do that for you, and that's how we open the trunk. One beep, power trunk, up it goes. And a couple of things of note here before we look at the cargo space. There are 2 handles, one on each side. Thank you, Toyota. The reason it's there is because not all trunks are power trunks with the RAV4. And that's a definite perk for me, but a bigger perk is the actual button to close it. It's not just some cheap button that's kind of embedded into that. There's a nice little cover on top of it with the picture of the trunk opening and closing. I'll get a little closer there for you. I think that attention to detail is absolutely fantastic. Keeps a lot of the crap and dirt and grime out of that. So full marks from me to you, Toyota. There's a look at the cargo space. Seats are down. Now this does come with the privacy cover, which is there, but I've taken it out, and that's one of the slots, and there's the other one of the slots, just to show you how much space you have. The seats, I'll go down a little lower. They don't fold quite flat, but it doesn't really matter. You can still fit a ton of stuff in there. Cargo spot there. There's your 11th speaker. The other 10 are scattered throughout the vehicle, but Starting with the rear seats of the 2020 RAV4, there's a nice kind of handle design and skin, very chiseled, very defined, as is the case for the rest of the design of the vehicle. Just wanted to point that out to you. Getting the seats down, super easy. You lift, you pull, and then this little red tab comes up to let you know. Let's say you try and put it back fully or halfway and it's not fully locked in. Easiest way to know it's locked in, push back, red button goes all the way down. Get heated seats for the rear passengers, and it's one stage. Be getting out of the sunlight there. Car's not on, but anyways, that light shows up. I wouldn't have minded if it was like a two-stager, but one beats none, right? A couple of power sources down there and your rear vents. Overall, it's pretty comfortable. So this is my normal seating position, and if you know anything about me or have seen any of my past reviews, I sit all the way up, I sit all the way back. So even with a seat like this, there's plenty of leg space. I'll just kind of put my leg in there for you, just to show you I'm not cramped at all. So good job there, Toyota, on making the cabin in the rear pretty comfortable and fairly large. Before we go into the front, these two little buttons, notches here, you just touch those, and that's how you lock it, and that's how you unlock it. Nice and easy. Oops, I think I double locked it. Anyway, hang on to the handle, pull it open, and that's the end of that. So here's your ongoing theme. There's that cool little design here and in there and on the speaker covers all along the front. They're even in this little cubby hole right here. And again, it's an ongoing theme with the RAV4, and I think it looks really, really sharp. Side bolsters are pretty awesome, and they're not just thick, but they're actually firm. They hold you in place. And the thigh bolsters are surprisingly good. They seem a little low, but I'll get down a little lower and show you. They're actually fairly high up, so well done, Toyota, on that. Let's jump in. I'm going to show you the cool graphic that shows up when you start the vehicle. Keep your eye on the prize. And you can see more of that design pattern. So it looks really, really cool, nice and sharp. Here's a bit of an irk for me as I get my feet out of the way. There's a bunch of buttons here, and I wish the trunk button was on this side because you're going to use that a whole lot more than your dimming and brightening. Plus, when you're sitting at your regular position, you got to actually lean over a bit to actually see these buttons and what they do. So it's either wish they were stacked on top of each other or a little further over. I like that they're tucked over and out of the way, but I would have happily traded this space to have these buttons a little closer to the side where I wouldn't have to move my entire body to see them. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. Nice, comfortable steering wheel. It's a heated steering wheel, and there is your heated steering wheel button right there. Very nice. I like that the volume and the channel changing buttons are just nice and thin. So when your hands are at 10 and 3, you just kind of put your thumb down. It's very nicely organized and laid out steering wheel. I think for me, it's one of my favorites. It still feels comfortable, and there's not like huge, massive buttons. So nicely done there. A couple more design lines here. Toyota has gone with that little semicircle that goes around there, but they've also put a digital red line in here to kind of almost complete the full circle. The dashboard changes when you go from normal, which is what I'm in, to eco, so you can see the green at the top and the bottom. And when you go into sport, unsurprisingly, it turns red. So nicely done there. I'm gonna go back to normal. Here's a quirk for me. For all the digital technology that Toyota has put into the RAV4, they still kind of went old school with resetting the odometer, and it's that nice traditional, you push the button. How can I get my hand in there without it being on the camera? Oh, maybe I can, my other hand. Anyway, so you can see the odometer change on the, let's say, bottom right of your screen. Anyway, so that's for that. Let's shift over to the infotainment. So 8 inches here, lower models get 7. I don't like that, just make it one size. It'll probably save them some money. My 2 cents, I'll just give everybody an 8-inch screen. Not a huge fan of how high up it sticks up off the dashboard. But I get it, Toyota's all about safety, so line of sight, and I'd rather it be a little obtuse, I guess. I was gonna say obtrusive, but it's not obtrusive. I'm okay with it like this, as opposed to it being kind of a little too lower down. I just wish it was like an inch lower. Compromise, Toyota, maybe? Anyways, the infotainment screen, nice, it's touchscreen, nice and easy to use. I wouldn't say it's lightning fast, but it is far from slow, all right? So that's what the hard touch buttons are for. So you get the home, you get the menu, dump into your audio. Let's go back to the menu. Let's go into setup. So there's like a tiny, like half-second lag, and I don't know, theme settings, which is a nice thing. So you get a bunch of different options for your, well, I guess four options for themes. But overall, infotainment, easy to use, nice, easy to read. I love the combination of hard touch buttons and touch, and love this part of it. I really do. The size of these temperature controls are massive, and to me, beautiful. No issues. Yes, it's a little oversized compared to the thin buttons here, but you know what? Don't care. I think it looks great, and there's no guesswork here at all. And same thing for these. You know, people may say, oh, they're kind of thin, but like there's a big picture of what happens directly above it. You want your fan speed up, it goes up. You want to change the direction of the air, that's how you do it. And that's how you get your recirc or not recirc. All right, so the light goes on, light goes off. Here's a bit of a quirk for me. So right now the heated seats are on and the lights are yellow. And I put the cooled seats on and the lights turn green. But I know that you have blue lights, Toyota, because they're in your gear shift. So I don't know why they would have made that green instead of making that blue. So that's just a little oddity for me. Traction control on, traction control off. Here's my Irk. $40,000 for a blank in plain sight. Nah, it doesn't do much for me. Give me a blank here, that's totally fine. Don't care if it's here, nobody really sees it. But for something that's looked at and used almost every time you use the car, I wish that wasn't a blank, it's my 2 cents. Wireless charging comes on the top 2 trims. It works even through a case. There's a power source, and there's another power source in there. If you don't want to use this for your wireless charging, it's a nice little storage bin for you as well. Cool thing, whenever you put the car into park, the parking brake automatically comes on, and as soon as you pop it into drive, it goes off. So I think that's a nice automated feature. See, there you go. Just put it back in, and parking brake goes on. Here's a bit of a quirk for me. It's a JBL 11 speaker system, but look at how big the casing is for the speaker. And there's just that tiny little spot there for the speaker cover. Little bit of overkill here for me. I think it's way too much. Quick note in the backup camera as far as resolution goes. So the left side of the screen is the straight backup camera. The right side is the top down. And the resolution really isn't all that great. Like, it's still good. You can see what's behind you. You can see the lines in my sidewalk and the curb. You can see that car next to me, which is right there. But compared to the digital rear view mirror, like, there's a lot of crispness. You know, you can almost, if not, you can read my neighbor's license plate, and you can see what unit he's at. So there's a lot of detail here that I wish was transferred down to here. Anyways, just my 2 cents on that. Like, I'm happy that this is the higher resolution camera, because I'd be using it every day as opposed to a not so high resolution camera for the backup camera. High resolution, camera for the backup camera. Yeah. Sorry, I said it out loud. It didn't sound right, but now it sounds right. So anyways, you get your lines that turn as well, and the rear cross traffic alert. If someone's coming from that side, the arrows point that way. And if someone's coming from that side, the arrows point that way. So it's a good system. I just wish this was a little higher resolution. So interestingly, you heard that beep and you see a car passing by and the arrow's pointing that way. I didn't plan that, but thank you, random driver, for illustrating my point. Let's do the drive. 2020 Toyota RAV4. So under the hood, it's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, and you get 283 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque, all run through an 8-speed automatic transmission. As far as acceleration goes, that's where my irk is. It's not that it's not quick enough, it's just the engine revs really high and it's really loud, and it feels like you're putting a ton of stress on the engine when you start from a dead stop. Yes, I know modern engines are built to withstand all sorts of pressure and your foot stomping down. It just sounds really whiny. So after you've run it up, you get your 3,000, 4,000 RPMs, you settle down in the resting area, whether it's 1,500 or a little more, the drive becomes very smooth and very quiet. So I'm definitely impressed with the drive quality of the RAV4 once it gets up to the speed. And when you're accelerating, whether you're going from 60 to 80 or getting onto a highway, going from, say 60, 70, 80, 90 up to 100 to whatever your comfortable speed is, there's no big whiny and and loud noises there. It's just from a dead stop. That's, to me, where the real irk is. As far as comfort goes, the Softex seats, they're good. I've got no problem with them. They're very comfortable. Heated seats work well. Cooled seats also work well. It's I think the 8th of June when I'm recording this. So it's been pretty hot. I've had a couple of cool days lately as well. So I've used both heated seats and cool seats. I can imagine myself doing longer road trips in this without getting any kind of driver fatigue. As far as running through the infotainment system while I'm driving, very intuitive, very easy to find everything that I'm looking for through here. It's right in my line of sight, and you can see my hands just on it right now, so it's an easy reach for me, and that's despite me sitting all the way back. As far as fuel economy goes, it's rated at 9.2 on the highway and 7.1 in the city, and your blended total amounts out to, not runs out to, that's not even a thing. Your blended total amounts to 8.2 liters per 100 kilometers, and the gas tank is 55 liters of regular fuel. So with the Limited, you get a few things that you don't in any other trim. So for one, you get the 11-speaker JBL system, which sounds fantastic. You get built-in navigation, which is also great. You get the 360-degree camera to help you kind of get in and out of some of the tighter parking spots, or if you park in a garage, you kind of, in addition to the sensors up front, you get a visual aid as well as the sensory aid as well for finding out if you're too close to hitting the wall. You also get rear cross traffic braking, and that's always a good thing. Always good to be a little extra safe out there. You get the kick sensor for the tailgate. You get heated rear seats. You get driver memory seats, and there's two options, or two settings: driver 1, driver 2, in case you're sharing the vehicle. And the cool thing, and I'll spend maybe a minute talking about this, it's the digital rear view mirror, which is right there. You can't see it, but trust me, it's right there. And I showed it in the interior portion. What I like about it is Toyota has put the camera at the top of the rear window. Jaguar Land Rover has it. I believe it's called their Clear Sight. I think it's Clear Sight. Anyway, so they have their camera mounted on top of the shark fin antenna at the back of the vehicle. So the one thing you have to keep in mind when you're using the digital rear view mirror, give yourself an extra 5 to 6 feet of actual depth perception. Because with the mirror in manual mode, where it's used as a traditional mirror, it's starting from here and going all the way to the back of the vehicle. When you look in your mirror, when it's in normal mode, you can see the entire length of the vehicle plus whatever's behind you. When you're using the digital mode through the camera, you're seeing what's at your back window and out. So you lose all that depth from what you get inside the vehicle. So there may be a car that looks like it's inside the RAV4, but in reality, it's, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 feet away from you. As far as safety goes, A++++. It's a massive perk. I will list off every standard safety feature that every RAV4 gets on that side of the screen, and it's a Toyota Safety Sense 2, and it is remarkable in 2020 that more and more manufacturers are getting on board with giving so many standard safety features. Toyota has just so many of them, and as you've seen through the list, it's just truly remarkable. As far as handling and driving dynamics, I have no complaints. Raised vehicle, you're not going to take your corners overly fast, but it feels good around turns and getting on the highway, and it's fairly well planted. The Toyota vectoring control system helps kind of stabilize you a little bit instead of oversteering, understeering as you're going around a bend, or especially when you're getting on or off the highway, as those tend to be your higher speed areas where you're not going in a direct straight line. If you've got a cottage or you got a boat or a trailer, the Limited trim will let you pull 1,500 pounds when equipped with the proper tow package. As far as trims go, there's 6 of them. There's the LE front wheel drive, LE all wheel drive, XLE front wheel drive, XLE all wheel drive, There's the trail model, and then there's the top trim, which is the limited. Because of the digital mirror and the upgraded sound system, I would go for this model. I'm driving a lot. Safety is a big thing for me. And having the digital rearview mirror just adds that extra little bit of safety that makes me comfortable, as well as having that really, really thumpy yet clear and crisp audio system from JBL. That's going to wrap up the review on the 2020 Toyota RAV4. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to get you answers as soon as possible. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate every single one of you for watching and subscribing and supporting. It means so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. Hope you're all keeping well, keeping safe, and I'll be back sooner than later with my next review.